There you go. Sorry about that.
Good afternoon. Education Administration Subcommittee is now in order. Members, if you would, if you'll log in and we'll take roll. Mr. Clerk, if you'd open up the board for roll, please. Yeah, we got in.
Here we go. There we go.
All right, there we go. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Mr. Chairman, you have 4 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And any personal orders from our members today? All right, seeing none. Members, we do have a couple of updates to the calendar. Let me go over those. And then we do have a presentation today. First of all, item number 1, House Bill 1733 by Chair Lady Moody has been rolled to the next available calendar without objection. Item number 2, House Bill 2275 by Chair Lady Moody, rolled to the next available calendar without objection. And then item number 12, House Bill, I don't have the House Bill number here, I'm sorry. 2076 by Representative Reeves is rolled to the next available calendar without objection. And we do have a presentation today from the Department of Education. So if you'd make your way up, I would appreciate it. And I appreciate the department coming before us today. We had hoped to be a little bit earlier in the session, but the ice storm held everything off, and then some travel held some folks off. But I'm glad to have the department before us. And I've asked them especially to prepare for us today, give us some information on where we are as it relates to changes when it comes to the federal Department of Education and changes there. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to the department. You're recognized. Oh, we'll go out of session.
Thanks, Chairman. Anna Hall from the Department of Education. I am joined today by Ms. Marianne Dursky, our Chief Financial Officer, and Ms. Debbie Thompson, our Assistant Commissioner of Federal Programs. Thanks, committee, for having us, and thanks for having us a little bit later in the year than we had hoped. We appreciate your patience and for working with us on that. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie.
Thanks, Anna. Thanks, members of the Education Administration Subcommittee. I'm Debbie Thompson, Assistant Commissioner of Federal Programs and Oversight at the Tennessee Department of Education. During today's presentation, I'll provide an update on the status of federal education grants for the upcoming school year, key interagency agreements, as well as review current waivers before the U.S. Department of Education. Federal education funding operates on a forward funding model, allowing states and LEAs to plan and implement programs ahead of the academic year. This model helps bridge the gap between the federal fiscal year and the school calendar year. Arrow 1 represents the congressional funding cycle. Arrow 2 on the chart represents the ED funding cycle. And Arrow 3 represents the SEA-LEA budget cycle. The FY, or Federal Fiscal Year 26 Consolidated Appropriation Measure that was recently signed into law by President Trump will fund a 2026-27 school year. It is represented on that third arrow. The timing of this allows for budgeting, planning, and hiring of staff in LEAs that starts this spring. It also prevents delays in programs at the federal level. It also provides financial predictability for LEAs dependent on federal aid such as ESSA, IDA, and Perkins programs. As you can see on this slide, we have seen an increase of $20 million in Title I and IDA funds at the federal level. Again, this was signed by President Trump in the Consolidated Appropriation Measure. This law will provide educational funding for next school year, 2026-27. While these two programs saw a $20 million increase at the federal level, all other K-12 programs remained level funded for the upcoming school year. The law did not establish block grants, but it did include language ensuring that educational grants will be available on July 1 of the upcoming year. Last year, numerous federal education grants were paused during a comprehensive review by the Office of Budget Management. This language that was included in this bill will ensure that LEAs across the country have their funds prior to the start of the period of performance, which is July 1. Additionally, we have seen a lot of movement at the federal level around interagency agreements. In late summer 2025, the U.S. Department of Education signed an agreement with the U.S. Department of Labor, announcing the transition of some of the responsibilities of Perkins programs to the Department of Labor. On November 18, 2025, we saw numerous other agreements being announced by the U.S. Department of Education, including ESSA grants being transferred to the Department of Labor. In January and February, members of the Tennessee Department of Education have participated in multiple feedback sessions with numerous other state educational leadership members and other key stakeholder groups to talk about what our questions, concerns, and perspectives are on these transitions. TDOE has actively participated in these conversations at the federal level and continue to monitor the implications of what these transitions and multi-role agency responsibilities will look like. We continue to assess any potential impacts on Tennessee families, students, as well as our communities and our local education agencies. We've had the opportunity numerous times to share with you about some of the flexibilities that we are encouraging as well as looking into as a state. The current administration has requested that state and local education agencies think about flexibility through federal rate waivers or revisions to state plans. The department is actively pursuing multiple federal flexibilities through a combination of waivers as well as revisions to our ESSA state plan. These efforts are designed to modernize the state's accountability system, reduce administered burdens, produce districts with greater operational flexibility. Collectively, these requests aim to serve Tennessee students, teachers, families, and educational systems better. The U.S. Department of Education has 120 days to review any of our waiver plan submissions. Throughout the period, TDOE has maintained frequent feedback as well as engagement with ed staff. We've responded to clarifying questions and asked for additional documentation, including information on timelines. The department anticipates a formal response in the coming weeks as the 120-day deadline approaches. According to ed staff, the ESSA state plan is currently being reviewed by program staff members. Similar to the assessment-related ESSA waiver, TDOE continues to provide additional information and insights as requested. The department is also finalizing EdFlex waivers after meeting with multiple ed teams and continuing to provide opportunity for feedbacks from local education agencies as well as other stakeholder groups. On behalf of the department, we want to thank you for the opportunity to provide updates and highlight the work of the agency. We invite ongoing dialogue about innovation and best ways to serve Tennessee students, families, teachers, and stakeholders, as well as the communities they serve. We are more than willing to answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Members, any questions for our guest? Go ahead. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you. On the slide, Tennessee is seeking flexibility for SEA and LEA. the one in red, educational flexibility, it says reduce administrative requirements to provide more flexibility to LEAs for allowable spending. It may be a premature question, but have we have any data on how that will help us as a state, maybe with the flexibility to spend and have more to spend, or were we deem it appropriate? Is that a good, understandable question?
You're recognized.
Thank you, sir. So yes, sir. So we are seeking currently flexibility for our local education agencies around Title IV Part A. Title IV Part A has spending caps if a district does not receive $30,000 or more, and then it has additional spending caps. And so we're looking to waive those to allow LEAs to be able to spend their funds as they see best and not have to do the different caps underneath that grant. Currently, we have over 100 districts that transfer Title IV funds into Title I to avoid those spending caps. So they're not even using those funds for Title IV purposes. They're actually moving them to Title I to have flexibility. If I could add a little more, that's problematic because a lot of our middle schools and high schools in Tennessee are not Title I schools. And so if you start to transfer using transferability provisions in the law, then you're not able to serve all of your schools. So your high school and middle schools are losing out of Title IV opportunities because those funds are being transferred to Title I under the transferability provision.
Follow up?
And the reason they're doing that is because of the caps currently?
Yes, sir, because it's so restrictive. And these are just percentages that were put forth in statute at the federal level.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Sapicki? Yes or no? Good. Okay. Any other members? I have a couple of questions. So overall, has there been, with the changes at the federal level, on the first slide, it showed that there was an increase in some funding. Has there been any decrease in funding to Tennessee given the changes at the federal level? Oh, you're recognized. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir. I'll take the ESSA, IDA, and federal, and I'll ask Marianne to tag team a little bit on some of the other programs. We have not seen a decrease necessarily in our core education programs, ESSA, IDA, and Perkins, which are our larger programs. We are waiting to see what the next fiscal year brings. We usually get those preliminary allocations in the month of February, March from the feds for the upcoming year, but we're trending to be pretty consistent in our funding in those three large areas.
Ms. Dursky?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, and the same is true for the other federal grants. We are pretty much level funded on those as well. We have been fortunate not to see a decrease in our federal allocations.
And then you had mentioned a shift from the education department to other departments. Has there been any difficulty or have we experienced anything here at the state level because of the shifting from one department to another? You recognize.
Thank you, sir. So realistically, there's been one or two speed bumps just getting to learn a new accounting system. The Department of Education uses G5, Department of Labor uses another accounting system. So there's been a few growing pains there, but programs have not been impacted across the state and programming has been consistent for students, which is the most important thing.
Okay, and then I just have one more question, then members will open it up if anyone has any more. So it seemed that there was going to be quite a bit of shift, and it looked like there may have been multiple departments at one point, but it appears that the shift has not been as great to me. I don't know whether that's a true statement or not, and it appears that it's the Department of Labor that is picking this up. Am I missing something, or is that a generally accurate statement?
So what's been announced by the U.S. Department of Education is just major education programs under ESSA that have impacted K-12 education in the state of Tennessee to labor. There have been rumblings, but nothing official from the U.S. Department of Education, sir.
Okay, thank you. Members, any other questions? Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Appreciate your presentation. Thank you so much. We are now back in session, and we do have a calendar today, members. With the bills that were rolled, that brings us to item number 3, House Bill 1550 by Representative Davis. Do I have a properly motion, properly seconded? And Representative Davis, we're ready to hear you on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee. And this legislation is very simple in terms of
I
the fact.
do see, I'm sorry, Representative
Yes.
Davis, I should have mentioned, I see you have an amendment, is that correct?
Well, there is an amendment. The one that I would like to add to the bill is 013538, but I don't know that that was timely filed.
No, that was untimely filed.
Correct.
Okay.
So that is the one that I'm going to go with, and it's going to be added tomorrow in Senate. The Senate sponsors running it, and so that one. So I'd like to be able to, if I can, present the legislation. If I'm successful moving forward, then add that amendment in full committee next week.
Okay, so if you'll, Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If just indulge us, if you'll explain to us what the amendment does, so we're not surprised in full committee.
Yes, sir. Essentially, it changes the effective date from, it changes it to July the 1st, 2026 at 12:01 a.m. So that way, there's some other legislation that impacts some of what I'm doing as well. And so if that legislation passes, then my legislation will just change one section. If it doesn't pass, then my full bill will take effect. Does that make sense?
Okay, members, any other questions? Any other questions on that? All right. Chairman White, you recognized.
Could you repeat that?
So let me,
No
can I-
substantive change, it's just a date change.
Correct. That's correct. Essentially what the bill does is it changes the word epinephrine, auto injectors to just the word epinephrine, because we have different delivery methods of epinephrine now. You can use nasal spray. And so my bill opens up certain sections of code to change that. There is also some other legislation that has some very similar language, but it also expands on other things as well. So if that legislation moves forward, then my bill will only change one section that is not covered by that other piece of legislation. If that other piece of legislation does not move forward, then mine changes two sections to change epinephrine auto injectors to the word epinephrine to allow for the various delivery methods. So who's on first? Who's on second? Does that make sense?
So that's your explanation of the bill, is that correct?
The bill, yes, sir.
Okay, so members, any questions on the bill? Okay, Representative Reedy, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see this as confusing. So I went
Okay, I
ahead and on the dashboard, I pulled up, it's House Bill 2533.
No, sir. House Bill 1550 is what we're looking at.
Right, but I'm looking at the amendment that we have, and it's talking only if House Bill 2533 does not become law. And of course, I see that's going into K-12 subcommittee, but of course, it's not been put on notice. I'm trying to figure out how to make this easier for us so we don't have to come back later. Okay, so what we're proposing from where you're standing, proposing right here is this name change, but there's an amendment that will go on, hopefully that what you would like to do, go on in full, but we're still waiting on this pending other legislation to see if it's going to move or do anything. Clear as mud.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pretty close, yes. And so what I'm trying to accomplish is to ensure that that delivery method gets corrected in statute. And so I'm pretty confident that the other legislation will move forward because it has quite a bit of language. And I've worked with the Department of Education, and they're comfortable with how we've how we're going to amend this so that way it'll all get corrected in the different sections of code.
Chairman Reedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So if we come to a posture on this legislation as far as what committee that it's standing in, are you willing to hold it in one committee, waiting on this other to see what's going to happen and try to move from there? Or if this bill makes it to the House floor, laid on the clerk's desk until we figure out what's going to happen with this other piece of legislation, at that time, pull it off and go ahead and move it out and be done with it? Or what, your mind's eye, tell us what you see.
Sponsor, you're recognized.
So with the amendment, that clarifies that. So my legislation would take effect July the 1st at 12:01 a.m. So the other legislation takes effect July at 12 a.m. So if it does go into effect, it's effective. And then the portion of mine that is not covered in that piece of legislation takes effect. If that legislation doesn't move forward, my full legislation takes effect at 12:01. Does that make sense
Yep.
now?
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry.
Any other questions from members? So,
It's the
well-
simplest bills that are the hardest.
well, my question is,
Yes, sir.
if we waited on the timely filed amendment, which was, or the amendment to be filed timely, because it was untimely filed, so we can't see the amendment today. It seems that this would make it clear when it was brought before this body. The will of the committee, but Chairman Subcommittee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To protect the sponsor here, would it be appropriate to roll this bill until the next available calendar?
Yes, I second.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second, and all those in favor of rolling it to the next available calendar, say aye. Any opposed? It is rolled to the next available calendar. All right. That brings us to item number 4, which is also by Representative Davis, House Bill 1675. Do I have a motion? I have a motion and a second, and I'm not seeing an amendment. And so,
No amendments.
all right, we're ready to hear you on your bill. All right.
No, this is thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate that. And what we're trying to accomplish with this piece of legislation is those nurses that are registered nurses that hold a license, that also have a bachelor's degree or higher, and also have obtained that national certified school nurse certification, that that going forward, if there is a nurse that comes in to the school system with those qualifications, that they are paid at the same level that a teacher's base salary comes in at, and just to keep them on par. If you look at the fiscal note, I thought one thing that was kind of really important that fiscal brought up with respect to this is they said that on some of the information that they received from some of the school districts, some nurses are categorized as certified employees. Some are categorized as classified employees, which puts them on par as a bus driver or maintenance staff or administrative support staff positions. And there's only a very small percent of people, I think it's only 62 individuals that this even touches. And in my opinion, I would like to see that those nurses that have got the qualifications, that they're receiving the monies for the profession that they have entered into. I think that they're a highly qualified individual, they're skilled, and their degrees have shown that. And we want to make sure that they stay within our school system. It is difficult to retain a lot of those nursing positions, and we want to make sure that we keep the people that are qualified and highly qualified to be there. And so I stand ready for any questions.
Okay, members, any questions? Chairman White, you're recognized.
I like this. It sounds great. So in talking with the school systems, what is their response to
So this is permissive. It allows those LEAs if they have contracted nurses, they do not have to, that doesn't apply to them. It only applies to that staffing level going forward. But we would like to ensure that, and I believe that the School Board Association was very supportive of this legislation. Then also the School Nurses Association and the Teachers Association were supportive.
Follow up?
Thank you. And we have had these conversations for years. So the fiscal note doesn't hurt them like working since the.
Well, if you look at the fiscal note, because they couldn't really determine it, it would determine because they didn't have enough data based upon the type of nurses that they had and their qualifications, and then who they would hire in the future. And so it says that the comparison found that the cost to increase pay for nurses employed in 3 sample districts ranged from anywhere from $3,141 to $17,374 per nurse. So depending upon the school district or the amount of staffing that they have, it seems fairly nominal, in my opinion, to pay people adequate compensation for what the degrees that they have and the experience and the level of experience that they have.
Thank you.
Any other members, questions? Chairman Sapicki?
Just for clarification, it's not a permissive bill. It says it requires LEAs to classify school nurses as licensed personnel. They have to do that.
I apologize. Going forward, yes, sir.
Right.
Yes.
And then based off of, for salary purposes. So the minimum salary for a school nurse will now be $50,000
Well,
because that's the minimum pay for a.
but they have to meet that requirement of having, it's not just that you're hiring a nurse. They have to have those requirements that they have to have the RN license. They have to have a bachelor's degree or higher. Also, the nationally certified school nurse certification. All of those things have to be met. So you're going to be hiring someone at a very qualified level. And in order to recruit and retain those individuals, I think that they should be paid at the same level that we're saying that teachers can come in at.
Any follow-up?
Well, just that we have to recognize, and I'm going to vote yes for your bill. I support it. But there is going to be a cost to the districts, because if we say we're going to classify them at this level and they meet the requirements and they're not making that type of money right now for whatever reason, and they have to make that money's got to come from the state, and then there's going to be a local match of what their percentage is. That is going to happen, right?
Sponsor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from members? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, if you'd open the board for voting, please. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
House Bill 1550 moves on to full education.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee.
Oh, excuse me. House Bill 1675 moves on to full education.
I almost got
There
that
we
one
go.
out too, didn't I?
All right, that brings us to item number 5, House Bill 1853 by Representative Renaud. Properly motioned, properly seconded, and Representative Renaud, I see an amendment, is that correct?
Yes.
And can you give us that drafting code, please?
013318.
Or motion and second, all those in favor of adding the emotion, say aye, the amendment, not the emotion. The amendment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The amendment is added onto the bill, and you are recognized on your amended bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. Last year, this body took a very important step by removing Red 40 from the school lunch or school nutrition programs. And what we've seen since then is very encouraging. We've already seen manufacturers are reformulating, vendors are adapting, and that proves something very important, that this step is practical and very workable. So this bill actually builds on that success, and it will expand the standard to include the remaining petroleum-based synthetic dyes that are still out there, such as yellow 5, 6, blue 1, 2, and green between 3. These additives serve no nutritional purpose, and they really only exist for color, and there are already safer alternatives available, or they are quickly being formulated. So this legislation does provide time for the schools and vendors to comply by honoring existing contracts, and I respectfully ask for your support so we can finish the job.
Thank you, sponsor. Any questions for the sponsor? Representative Hurd, there we go. I knew it had come to me. There we go. So go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, I generally support this type of legislation and do think that what we did last year was a good move. I do have some questions and possibly concerns. The alternative, obviously, we're going further than the FDA, but the alternative to these are natural dyes. Is that accurate?
Representative Renaud.
Thank you. Since more recently, actually, the FDA announced 3 more of these that they're going to ban. So I think we're going to quickly see the rest of those removed as well. And it's going to force the manufacturers to make the changes. But yes, they are natural-based dyes that they are using.
Representative Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in doing that and just having these conversations, the natural dyes, do they come from the U.S.? Will they come from other countries? Where are they sourced from? And I have one more follow-up, Mr. Chairman.
Sponsor, you're recognized.
I'm not sure where they're sourced from, but really the heart of this is really to move away from stuff that's processed. Instead of doing a banana flavor something, we can just give them a banana. So we really want to make the change to move towards real food, not just replacing a synthetic food coloring with another item that's also synthetic in a processed food.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And last question, and I'd appreciate your answering me there. With these type of products, what would it ban that are in schools currently? What would it ban? And obviously, you said it's in it where that they can, in time, honor the existing contracts. But what will it ban that is currently in schools? And then, how will that affect the companies that are providing these products to the schools?
Representative Renaud.
Thank you. So first off, I met with a Tennessee school nutritionist to talk about, and a vendor, the superintendent that deals with the vendors, to discuss what that looks like. They've already gotten down to where there's only 15% of the foods currently on the school nutrition program that fall under that they would have to make changes to. So it's actually a very small amount. The red dye 40 was easy to transition out of because things like any red flavor things could be substituted with blueberry, so they could move away from that. And again, we just want to move away from a Pop-Tart with blueberry to maybe a blueberry something with real blueberries so that we can avoid those dyes. The vendors the one that we spoke to with the superintendent that dealt with the vendors did not see a problem with this. This actually doesn't take effect until August 1st, 2027, and they felt like that would be plenty of time, even though we made it so that they would not have to comply until their contract was over.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other members? Chairman White, you're recognized.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the bill such as this is kind of like, social media. We get it. We move away and everything. My question is how, we don't have a state FDA. And so how do we do this with our school systems when you have interstate commerce, when you have so many things that we don't control? But yet we're asking to ban these things, and then the cost on our school districts, even though we all agree with the concept. That's what I'm challenged with, is how do we do as a state whenever we don't have control on everything going into our foods?
You're recognized.
There are other states who've already complied with this. West Virginia was one of the schools or superintendents that we spoke with. They are not having a problem meeting this demand. They've already moved further ahead than we have in this. So they're able to work through the cost issue. And again, less than 15% of the foods in the school nutrition program are affected by this. So it's not going to be a huge shift as huge as I think that maybe we all thought it might be.
Do you have a follow-up? You're recognized.
Thank you. Yes, I get, it's my question is you pushed this off to 2027. And my question is, do we have enough information to make sure that we do the wise thing, not only for our children, which we all agree on that, but for our school systems? have we had any kind of in-depth study, like we do in TASER committees and things like that? Would it be better to have that kind of reporting back to us before we just vote on the bill, even though the concept is good, but there's so many moving parts right now?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
I don't know that Tennessee has done any studies, but there's certainly plenty of studies out there and an unbelievable amount of personal testimony from parents, from folks who have emailed saying they know they're allergic to these things. They've had issues with them for decades. In fact, Representative Hemmer told me when he was a kid, he was not allowed to have red dye 40 because it made him hyper. And it's been interesting to hear the stories. I don't know of a test that Tennessee has done, but there is definitely research out there that shows that these dyes do not serve any nutritional purpose. And again, many states before us have already gone through the process and are not having a problem with vendors in procuring the foods. And again, by 2027, I think with the FDA push, we're going to see that manufacturers are going to reformulate, and it's not going to put the burden on the school vendor. It's the manufacturer that has to do it. So the vendor will have to comply by the 2027 date or whenever the contract ends.
Follow up?
So you don't feel like we need a TASER study or something like that where we can really flush this out? I understand the concept is good, but the details, the devil's always in the details.
Sponsor, you're recognized.
I don't believe there's a study needed. Again, from the FDA level, they're already removing these. So I think it's very clear that from the federal piece, they're already moving in this direction. I don't know that we need to expend the money to study whether we should remove them or not.
Members, any other questions? Representative Reedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the August 1st date. And of course, I was reminiscing in my mind and with somebody that stopped by my office about Walmart and what they were doing. And it shows that by January 2027, Walmart will remove all synthetic dyes and over 30 artificial ingredients, preservatives, and sweeteners from its U.S. private label food products, including Great Value, Market Side, and Better Goods. So I think we're on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from our members? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, if you'd open the board for voting, please. Members, please cast your votes. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 4 ayes, 1 no, and 1 present not voting.
House Bill 1853 moves on to full vote. That brings us, members, to item number 6, also by Representative Renault, House Bill 2393. Do I have a motion? Properly motioned, properly seconded. And Representative Renault, we're ready to hear you on your bill.
Should I give you that draft number on the amendment?
Oh, yes, you sure may. Hang on. It's on a different page for me. All right, yes, you have an amendment. Give the drafting code, please.
013466 rewrites the bill.
All right, we had properly motioned, properly seconded, rewrites the bill. Members, without objection. So all those in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment is added to the bill, and we're ready to hear you now on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. This bill would limit digital devices for educational instruction in K through 8. This bill is not anti-technology. It is pro-learning and pro-child development. For the first time in modern history, Generation Z scored lower than previous generations on every single key academic measure like literacy, attention, reasoning, and creativity. Researchers trace this shift to the early 2000s when screen-based learning rapidly expanded in classrooms. Research reviewed by neuroscientist Dr. Jared Cooney Horvath shows students consistently comprehend and retain more when learning from paper and direct instruction than from screens, especially when material is complex or foundational. When instruction is primarily device-based, long-term retention and deep understanding decline. So this bill is asking us to look at routine device dependence in K through 8 while still allowing teacher-directed instructional technology and still protecting the special education accommodations listed in the bill. So I want to clarify my intention on this because there is a little bit of confusion, I think, from the fiscal note. A lot of this there was amendments sort of last minute that maybe made some confusion. So the intention on this is to remove the one-to-one device from students being in front of a device all day long. The intention is also to allow teachers to use a device if it is teacher-led, so they can use a whiteboard at the beginning of classroom, they can bring a TV in for a special presentation, and so forth. Research shows that from K through 5, these kids, you probably know, you can hand over your cell phone to your 5-year-old and they know exactly what to do with it. They don't need technology education to figure out how to use it. Dr. Horvath says that middle school is the appropriate time to introduce tech skills. And so the bill does allow for that technology-based skills to be taught starting in middle school. And it also allows this to become effective when the vendor contracts end or expire. And then, of course, like I mentioned, it exempts several different items, but some of the ones that might be important with like the RTI assessments, the special education, the virtual learning, the hybrid learning, and there was one other. Say it again. Oh, suspension. So yes, with that, I know there's a lot of questions.
Thank you. And members, we may have questions, but we do have some individuals who would like to testify on this bill. And so without objection, we will go out of session. And I'd like to call up Dr. Gupta and Dr. Jagger, if you'd come on up and take a seat. And if you would, please, before you begin speaking, identify yourself and give it just a couple of minutes each. Dr. Jagger, why don't we start with you, please?
Good afternoon, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Stacy Jagger. I'm a licensed family therapist. I'm a mother of 4, and I've spent the last 15 years working with children in clinical settings in Tennessee. I'm here today in support of reducing personal device use in elementary and middle school environments. Not because technology is bad, but because development matters. In therapy, I see children every week who are struggling with attention, emotional regulation, sleep, and social connection. Many of these issues are intensified by prolonged screen exposure at ages when the brain is still forming foundational skills like focus, empathy, and frustration tolerance. The developing brain is not built for constant stimulation. It is built for play, movement, imagination, and face-to-face interaction. When children rely heavily on personal screens for learning, we unintentionally trade deep learning for rapid consumption. We also create opportunities for distraction, exposure to inappropriate content, and fragmentation of attention during critical developmental years. This bill is not anti-technology. It is pro-child development. Shared devices, limited use, and age-appropriate integration allows schools to benefit from digital tools while still protecting the neurological and emotional growth of students. Children do not need unlimited access. They need guided and protected access. By reducing reliance on personal Chromebooks in early and middle education, we are not removing opportunity. We are restoring balance. We are giving children the chance to build the attention, creativity, and social skills that technology should support, not replace. Thank you for considering policies that align education with healthy brain development.
Thank you, Dr. Jagger. Dr. Gupta, you're recognized.
Chairman and members of the committee, an 11-year-old patient of mine used Google Classroom on a school laptop to secretly chat with an adult stranger, share photos, and planned a meeting. There has been a significant decline in math and reading scores since 2015, which is around the same time that educational technology or EdTech became common in schools. Stories like these raise an uncomfortable question. Are the very tools that are meant to educate our children instead exposing them to harm plus shallow learning? What began as an emergency response during COVID has quietly become the norm. Laptops, tablets, AI platforms have replaced paper and pen. I'm Dr. Nidhi Gupta, pediatrician, screen time researcher, author, speaker, and mother. I would like to briefly address 4 key questions that might arise before voting on this bill. Number 1, does EdTech actually improve learning? That was the intention, but the evidence is conflicting at best. Large-scale research shows limited to no academic benefit from most EdTech tools. A 2024 Columbia University study found stronger comprehension and memory with paper reading. Research from Princeton and neuroscientists from Norway show that writing by hand activates richer brain networks than typing. Sweden, once a leader in digital classrooms, is now investing millions in printed textbooks. Simply put, paper books stick much better than digital books. Question number 2, does EdTech make learning faster? Education is not about speed. It is about focus. It is about deep thinking, yet many EdTech platforms reward speed, gamification, and stimulation rather than sustained focus. A study found, interestingly, that investing in air conditioning improved learning by 30% over giving children a Chromebook. Even technology leaders send their children to low-tech schools. It is ironical that those who build these products for our children make completely different choices for their own. Question number 3, don't children need digital skills for the future? Yes, but there is a difference between digital literacy and digital dependency. Students can learn typing, coding, and responsible tech use in dedicated computer labs. That is education. That is digital literacy. But letting EdTech platforms bleed into each classroom every single day is not education. It simply creates digital dependency. Last question, 4, is EdTech safe? No. Internet Safety Labs found that 60% of EdTech platforms collect and sell student data to third parties without clear parental consent. And 41% students in a survey reported seeing pornography during the school day, nearly half on school-issued devices. Let me summarize. There is clear evidence that most EdTech tools are neither safe nor effective. Paper learning supports deeper thinking and stronger memorization. Prohibiting EdTech in K through 5 is not a step backwards. It is a futuristic step. EdTech needs to be regulated in such a way that it does not become the same mess that smartphones and social media have become for our children. So I urge the committee to vote yes, because we have done this before for alcohol and tobacco. We can do this for EdTech as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Members, any questions for our guest? All right, I don't see any questions for our guests. Thank you so much for coming to testify. We appreciate it. Members, we're back in the session and we are back on your bill. Representative Renaud. Members, questions for our sponsor, Chairman Glenn, or Representative Glenn. I almost gave you a chairmanship, so there you go. Representative Glenn.
My cosign is not right to be a chairman, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Renaud, I appreciate you coming by the office, and we kind of talked about this, and I told you I'm a no on the bill, and that hasn't changed because I do think there's some issues with it. I think, again, when we're talking about taking something that kids have been using for, several years as a way of learning, yes, there may be some issues with that, but to just take that away without really giving them an opportunity to kind of sort of wing their way off of the tablet, to me, is kind of like taking a scalpel when you should really be giving medicine. So that's one of the issues I have. I think it should be, if it is necessary, it should be a gradual process to remove kids from the tablet. If it's about screen time, then yes, that's something that can be looked at and balance out what is appropriate screen time and what is necessary for, to be learned from a book. I think we all, and most of us here, learned from a book. We didn't have tablets back then, but technology has changed since then, and we now live in a technical world. And so I believe that if we start taking that away from our young folks, then we're going to put them behind in society when it comes to those things. It was mentioned that kids can learn this in the middle school. But the problem, I think, with that is that we're requiring them to learn computer science in middle school. So if they haven't had an opportunity to really learn computers, how are they going to learn computer science? So those are some of the issues I have with the legislation. But I do understand where it's going. I do think maybe if there was a summer study, as Chairman White mentioned in a previous bill, that maybe some sort of task or study to look at what is more appropriate in removing or reducing it would be something that I could support. But just the scalpel thing just doesn't work for me. But again, I understand where you're going with this.
Sponsor, did you have any comment?
Sure, I'll be glad to comment on that. I'll just go back to every child starting at 5 years old can navigate a device very easily. I don't think they need to be taught how to do it. And so we know from the research that real learning happens without this one-to-one device. And I think that there is technically some time to comply. I doubt there's a ton of schools who their contracts end this January 2026. They can be moving towards the analog program for however long that contract lasts. So there probably is some gradual change that they can navigate themselves in order to get there. I have heard from many teachers, my school board chair, who have said that the teachers would really love to get back to real learning because they don't feel like that's happening. I obtained a Chromebook actually from my Hamilton County School Board and played with it. And I was very surprised how much learning is going on by a third grader through this device that really should be teacher-led instruction.
Anyone else? Questions? Chairman Sapiki?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot in this bill to unpack. So how are we going to, in your bill, how do we handle RTI? Or how do we handle the screeners? Are we still allowed to use the screeners to do the evaluations of our students in your bill?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
Yes, in section C, this bill actually does exempt out the universal screeners approved by the state board and any of the state approved or administrated testing or benchmark assessments. They are excluded from this already, as well as, like I said before, the homebound instruction, special education, ADA accommodations, and remote instruction or virtual schools.
Follow up.
So in code right now, we already in elementary levels, we do paper testing for TCAP. This would also make 6 through 8 paper testing also for TCAP. Is that correct?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
Yes, that is correct.
Follow up.
Is there any academic data to show that students test higher on paper tests they do as opposed to electronic?
You're recognized.
Yes, the research-based reasons are that actually screens change how students think, especially when they're taking testing, because digital devices or the environment actually it alters cognition. So children or students will skim versus actually read whenever you're on a device. They will also process text more superficially on a screen than on device. And then there is scrolling that disrupts the mental mapping of information, where students are actually losing spatial memory cues because of the scrolling. There is a very real value to taking a test with pen and paper.
Chairman Sapiki.
More of a statement, Mr. Chairman. We pass bill after bill after bill on internet safety. We just got done doing one. We constantly keep coming back to the device as the mechanism for the intrusion into our children's lives. And I agree with my colleague is sometimes, ripping the Band-Aid off is pretty tough at times. But if I understand in your legislation, how does that work? Because you have in there that if they have a contract they just signed for the technology, that contract would stay in place, and then they would not be able to renew that contract. So if they sign a 7-year contract, that technology would still be in the classroom for that 7 years. And then when the contract would renew, that's when it would have to come out. So they would have time to prepare. Okay, that's one question for you to answer. What if the contract expires next year? What happens
Sponsor.
then?
Thank you. Yes, if their contract, if they've signed a 7-year contract, then this would not take effect until that contract ends. And that would be also the concern with delaying this decision later, because we could have all these schools enter contracts. And there is actually one superintendent that contacted me that said the vendor is already asking for a 10-year contract. We are going to be locked into this for a long time if we don't make this decision now. So as far as a school, if their contract is up this year, they will have to work on implementing an analog system. But we know that at least in one school, Wilson County, a superintendent, they are already in the K-3 not doing any digital devices at all, and it's very minimal in 4th and 5th. So I think it's going to be probably much more practical in more schools than we think that they can meet this timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, I don't really have any questions. Well, I appreciate the discussion this morning. You kind of know where I am, but I did want to throw some thoughts out there. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but there's nothing that forces these schools now to use technology. They have the option. Your schools that you mentioned that said they would like to do it, they have the option now at a local level to not use it. You just said Wilson County had already made that decision. To me, that's a local decision. I have a couple of schools in my district, high achieving schools I mentioned to you this morning. They use devices sparingly. They use them just occasionally, and they use them successfully. Some school district next to me, not in my district, but the district next to me, where my kids went to school, the same thing. They're using them. Some schools are doing it the right way, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and they benefit from it. It was mentioned with our presenters that limited, very limited. Nobody wants to see a child in K-5 or K-7 sit in front of a Chromebook all day. Nobody wants that. But that's a local decision that they can do the things that they need to do at their district level, make those decisions. And that's where I am with it. If I see a school doing it, I'm going to go talk to the director. If I hear about it, I'm going to talk to the school board members. I'm going to have those conversations locally. I think that's something that they can do, that they need to be educated. And I think they have the best interest in their students in mind. Obviously, there's some out there that we have concerns with, but I'm not comfortable telling, especially my district, that, hey, you can't use these anymore, even though you're having success with them. If they choose not to, they can make that decision on their own. I just don't feel like we need to tell them. And so with that being said, I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate the information in our conversation, but I can't support it, because I do feel like that's currently a local decision. We're not forcing them to use them. They can already do that on their own. So thank you.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you. And Representative, thanks for bringing a bill like this. We get it. I understand here, and this is our challenge. I mean, last year when we had the bill on banning cell phones, everybody read a copy of The Anxious Generation. We talk about this all the time, social media, and Dr. Gupta, and we appreciate y'all being here. We understand that. It's just like the last bill you had on the dyes and foods. These are all things we got to deal with. My concern is right now is that this is a broad brush, and we're putting a big burden on our school districts if we were to pass this, because they are invested in this. At some point, we've got to get where we're talking about, but just to do a broad brush bill like this, I think we do as much damage as good. But what you're talking about, social media, we've got to figure this one out. And as we said, and but this is just a broad brush bill that for us to vote this out of committee is, we're not listening to our school district at this point and everything. So just like Representative Hurt said, so I appreciate you bringing this, and we deal with this. I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of hours it's been on this the last couple of years on national education boards and everything we're on, but it's tough. But I just want to say thank you for bringing it, but I'm not where I can just vote for a bill that does for our school districts, what we're not possibly ready that they can handle.
Thank you, Chairman White. Sponsor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just say that oftentimes we do leave decisions to the schools, but they don't make them, which is why we did the cell phone bill last year. And this is something, when we have the data, it begs us to do something about it. If we know better and we don't do better, we're failing our children. And we know the research is absolutely clear that children do not retain. They retain 25% less when they're learning on the devices. And it's not just about social media. There's so many other items that in regards to using the digital devices in the classroom that impairs student learning. It hurts their focus. It weakens their attention. It actually reduces deep comprehension as well. You can probably attest to the same thing. I know when I'm listening to a video in the car when I'm driving down here, oftentimes I get to a place where I realize I don't know what that guy just said. I have to replay it. And the same thing happens in a video or a digital instruction for these students, where they have even less ability to retain information or to pay attention. So we're really displacing hands-on learning, which is essential for the K through 8 students, where this foundational learning that they need in order to be able to use the tool of technology later, we are forsaking the real goal, which is to have literate children. And so by saying we want to delay this decision, or thinking that we need a study to figure out how to do it, I'm willing to work on issues that you have with it, but I do think we need to take some steps forward so that the schools can start to make plans for how they can do this. I do believe that the vendor staggering the renewal will help with helping them get on board and making an analog plan. There are places who have done this is actually in Europe, where Norway, Sweden have all gone back to hands-on handwriting, pen and paper learning. But in places where they have done a parental opt-out, which was one suggestion that I received, because so many parents did opt out of the digital, the teacher had to do an analog and digital. It was so difficult for them that they just gave up the digital altogether. It became easier to do the analog, but then they realized that it was more enjoyable as well too.
Thank you, sponsor. Did you follow up, Chairman White?
So to your point, since so many of our districts, for example, if we were to pass something, you still got some districts that got a 7-year contract. So they're still doing this for the next 7 years, or have many on there. So is it that necessary for us to pass something right now, other than maybe we could come together and figure out what's the best thing to pass? Because we do need to do something. I agree with you. But for us as a committee or task force, task or something, in working with our school district, what is our solution for this, instead of just, up or down right now?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
I certainly would be willing to roll the bill if you thought we could have a discussion in the next couple of weeks to come up with a solution that we would be amenable to or agreeable to. But if you think it's something that requires a study, then obviously that wouldn't happen.
I saw Representative Hurt first. If you'll go, you're recognized, Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And if you're open to that, I would like to continue the discussion as far as rolling it. I mean, you mentioned the cell phone bill. The first year that came before us, I was opposed to it for the same reasons, that they could do something locally. As I talked more and had more time to, we ended up settling at a spot where the district had to pass a policy. That's something that I'm looking for. I don't know how possible that is with this topic, but something along those lines where that we could come back later if we felt like we received more information. We could look at maybe tightening it a little more, but not such a broad brush initially. I'm open to discussions like that more than what we've got in front of us now. So I would keep an open mind if you were willing to do that, to roll it a couple of weeks and continue the discussion. Because I don't want to vote up or down today. If I have to, you know where I am, but I am open to the discussion to see if we can find something that is a step forward, but maybe not where you want to be currently, but also to where we are comfortable with taking that step, to putting it on the radar and making sure it is an important issue and something we need to continue the discussion on. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Hurt. Chairman Sapicki, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And in that light, we do have no committees next week. And Chairman White and Chairman Slater and myself, we could get together with Representative Renault one day next week, because we don't have any committees, and maybe put our heads together and see if we can come up with a solution to this and bring it back to the committee in a week or two. If you're okay with that, I'll be happy to do that, gentlemen.
So the sponsor has recommended rolling to next available calendar. Do I have a motion? Motion and a second. All those in favor of rolling to next available calendar, say aye. Any opposed? It is rolled. House Bill 2393 is rolled to the next available calendar.
Thank you, Committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 7, House Bill 1219 by Leader Camper. Do I have a motion? Motion. Do I have a second? Yes, you do. Second. There we go. I heard. Yeah, there. I was wondering when you were going to wake up over there. There you go. All right, Leader Camper, you are recognized on House Bill 1219. Let's see. Do we have an amendment? No amendment. So you're ready to roll.
Amendment, Mr. Chairman. There should be
so
amendment.
You do have amendment. Okay, there we go.
0115659.
Motion and a second on the amendment. Does it rewrite the bill?
No, sir, it does not. It leaves the intent and purpose of the bill intact, but it reduces from 6 schools to 3. So it'll be 1 in each grand division.
Would you like
versus
us to add the amendment to the bill?
I would love.
All right, members, all those in favor of adding the amendment to the bill, say aye. Any opposed? And the amendment is added to the bill. Now you're recognized on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The amendment also changed the school year from 26 to 27. So what this bill does, Mr. Chairman and members, it requires that the Department of Health establish and administer a pilot program to have hygiene vending machines in eligible schools to dispense feminine hygiene products to students at no cost. With the amendment we just talked about, it'll be 1 school, eligible school at each grand division, prioritizing, however, schools with the highest percentage of students in need economically, like homeless, foster kids, eligible for free and reduced lunch. It also directs the department with the state and local health departments, nonprofits, churches, organizations to supply the products for the vending machines. It encourages the department to work with the Governor's Office of Faith-Based Initiatives to maximize their resources to make sure that their products go in the vending machine. And with that, Mr. Chairman and members, I appreciate a favorable vote. Or any questions you may have.
Sponsor, Chairman Sapicki, you recognize?
Question.
Previous question has been called. Any objection to the previous question? Seeing and hearing none, Mr. Clerk, if you'd open the board for voting, please. Members, please cast your vote. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
All right, House Bill 1219 moves out to full education.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. Appreciate it.
That brings us to item number 1818 by Representative Russell. Properly motioned, properly seconded. Representative Russell, you are recognized on your bill. And let's see, I do see an amendment. Is that correct? What do you have for a drafting code?
I show 13312.
Motion on the amendment? Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor of adding 13312 to the bill, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And the amendment is added to the bill. And Representative Russell, you are recognized on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee. Several school districts across Tennessee are having issues providing bus services for transporting students to and from school. Many parents have reached out to me due to not having bus services available. House Bill 1818, as amended, would codify into law a 1998 Attorney General's opinion, number 98-090, that school districts can opt out not to provide bus transportation, but if they do provide this service, they must provide it to every student in their jurisdiction. In addition to codifying the Attorney General's opinion, House Bill 1818 clarifies TCA 49-6-2104 by requiring school systems to notify parents and guardians on how to receive payments in lieu of transportation. Members, it's as simple as that. We have the opportunity to send a clear message that we stand by our constituents in making sure there is transparency in the school bus transportation laws in the state of Tennessee. With that, I renew my motion.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions from our members? Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you. So I'm trying to get my head around, what are we doing now that this bill would change?
So most of this is already done. We're just codifying the Attorney General's opinion that says that if you provide bus transportation services to your children, you have to do it for all kids. And it also says that if you do not provide it due to rural roads and things like that, you have to let the parents know how they can get payments in lieu of the transportation to the bus services.
Okay.
Follow up?
And what is the fiscal note? Was this, how much is the fiscal note change in our school district?
So the physical note is other physical impact. It says because transportation arrangements vary by district and depend on existing routes, capacity, and contract terms, this extent of any additional transportation costs cannot be determined. Therefore, the mandatory increase in local government expenditures cannot be quantified with reasonable certainty. So, in all practicality, they should already be doing most of this stuff. The only thing different that they would have to do is just to notify the parents on how to get paid if they do not provide services to their
Follow
students.
up, Chairman White.
Question, and we probably don't know the answer to this yet, but there's another bill floating out there like open districts. You know, if they say a bill like that were passed where a student go from one district to the other. Do we know yet how that would affect something like this?
So the Department of Education actually helped me write this amendment just to make sure we solve that. This just says if you live in the jurisdiction of the school they should be going to.
Okay.
Chairman White. I'm sorry. Representative Glenn, you're up.
You just must want me to be a chairman or something. I don't understand this. Thank you so much.
At least I didn't call you Representative Hurt this week.
That's true. Thank you,
I
Mr.
couldn't remember his name, but at least I didn't call you Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sponsor, I'll be honest, my school hates this bill, my district. Not because they do not want to bus the kids, don't get me wrong, but the financial cost of what it's going to take for schools that do not have the appropriate number of bus drivers. There is a shortage of bus drivers everywhere. And the reason so many of the districts have had to fall back on picking up kids who live within a half a mile is because of the shortages. And so in order to do this, only one or two things are going to have to happen. The state is going to have to increase funding to pay for bus drivers, or the local government is going to have to find extra money to pay, more to bring bus drivers in. And so this is the problem with it. I do understand, that kids need to be picked up and they need to be safe. I do think that's one of the reasons why sidewalks are so important. But the financial cost of what the school districts are going to have to pay who do not have the bus drivers is probably going to really hurt, the overall concept of what they can and cannot do. So I don't know if this bill is really going to work, in my opinion.
Sponsor, you're recognized.
So this bill as amended does not have any effect on that 1.5 miles for providing bus services. This just says if you provide it to one student outside that, you have to provide it to all students. However, there are roads that are remote areas that they can't get to bus services for whatever reason. And like I said, the Department of Education helped write this amendment to address that. Right now, under that TCA that I quoted earlier, parents are supposed to be getting compensated for bringing their child to school. And this just says the school system has to notify them how to get that compensation. So this does not do anything that they should already be doing, except for telling them how to get paid if they have to bring their own child to school. So I don't know why any school service system would be against it.
Okay, thank you, sponsor. Any other questions, or did you have Chairman Sapicki?
And we may need to go out to legal on this one. I want to make sure that this bill is in the position that we just heard. Are we erasing in this bill the students that live within 1.5 miles of the school? Because the language says that if they pick one up, they have to pick them all up, or at least provide transportation to those students across the whole district. My district, I believe it's within 1.5 miles of the school. They don't provide transportation. So are we erasing that to legal?
Okay, we are out of session. Question for legal?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie Robertson, Legal Services. Currently, boards of education may provide school transportation facilities for children who live more than 1/2 mile by the nearest accessible route from the school to which they are assigned by the Board of Education in which they are enrolled. This provides that if a Board of Education provides school transportation to those children, then the Board of Education shall provide transportation facilities to all children who are enrolled in and attending the school they are zoned to attend by the Board of Education, unless the transportation is prevented due to road conditions or the remoteness of a child's residence.
Follow up for legal?
I'm good with that. Go back in.
Good. Anyone else for legal while we're out of session? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we're back in session. Question for the sponsors. Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
And I believe, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe there's federal law that talks about a student can be on the bus for no longer than 1.5 hours. And so if we do this.
That was actually, I'm sorry.
You're recognized, sponsor.
Department of Education sent the language in to cover that too in this amendment.
You recognize?
Right. So my question is, if we have to pick everybody up, and we're not picking everybody up right now, we're going to have new bus routes that are going to have to recalculate students to make sure they don't sit on the bus for 1.5 hours. I believe I'm correct on that. So.
Sponsor, response?
With the amendment that we filed, that is an exception. That's not calculated in this. I mean, it's still the same as it was for the 45 minutes. So. Like I said, Department of Education was the one that sent me this language to make sure that we fall within that 45 minutes.
Follow up?
I'm good.
Good. Any other questions for the sponsor? Chairman White, you're recognized.
Did you come up with this, or was it brought to you? Well, how did you come up with this?
You're recognized.
I've had many parents upset because bus services wasn't covered throughout routes in my district and specifically Monroe County, and then talking to a couple other representatives that has bills similar to address bus issues for students. And I just came up with this on my own, how to fix it. And once I filed it, that's when the Department of Education reached out to me with this suggested language to put it in statute.
Chairman White, follow up.
Do you see this as more of a rural issue than an urban issue?
You're recognized.
It may be rural right now, but with transportation being an issue, I think it's going to be rural and urban later, except for if it's within that 1.5 miles, it does not affect that. But if you've got urban areas that's outside that 1.5 mile range, eventually you're going to have that problem because you're not going to have enough buses, or for whatever reason, they can't get the contracts. So.
You good? All right. And I would, for the sponsor, when I read the bill as amended, I think I came to the same conclusion that perhaps Chairman Sapicki did, that this would end up requiring additional bus drivers as written. Do you see that is that accurate? Do you think that this may require additional bus drivers? Because we still do have the 45-minute limit on that. You recognized?
So as amended, you would still have that 45-minute limit. And as far as additional bus drivers, you will have what you have now. The only difference is if school districts does not provide service to the areas that they are supposed to, they have to notify the parents, and they can do that via email or their web page to show that how to fill out the form to get their mileage back. But as far as buses, you're going to have a problem with that down the road because you can't get enough drivers right now. And for whatever reason, the school districts can't get enough contracts. So,
Okay. Members, any questions? All right. Seeing none, we are, without objection, we're ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, if you would open the board for voting. All right, Mr. Clerk, if you take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 4 ayes and 2 noes.
It prevails, so House Bill 1818 moves on to full education.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to item number 9, House Bill 1834 by Representative Eldridge. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? There we go. A motion and a second. Man,
I'm starting to sweat there for a minute.
There you go. All right. Let's see. Don't see an amendment. No amendment on this one. So you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee. House Bill 1834 is pretty simply stated. We as legislative and deliberative bodies have enjoyed a longstanding tradition of opening a meeting with prayer. Local school boards of education, they have been hearing conflicting opinions about prayer at school board meetings, and this bill just simply seeks to codify the power of a school board to open their meeting with a prayer recited by a board member. I'd like to also note that it does not require those in attendance to participate in the prayer. It also provides that no person in attendance will be coerced to participate in the prayer. And it also clearly states that the prayer must be recited by a board member. And the bill is, it is 100% permissive.
All right. Thank you, sponsor, for that explanation. Any questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, without objection, we are going to vote on House Bill 1834. Mr. Clerk, if you'd open the board for voting. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
House Bill 1834 moves out to full education.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, committee.
That brings us to item number 10, House Bill 1658. Motion. Do I have a second? Properly motioned, properly seconded, and I'm looking here. Looks like you do have an amendment. Is that correct or no?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Let me.
Okay, we have an amendment from Chairman Subcommittee. Is this a friendly amendment?
Yes, sir. Or I believe so. I think so. I think it is.
All right, very good.
Pretty sure.
What do you have, drafting code do you have for that amendment,
So,
Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, let me brief explanation if you don't mind. There's a timely filed and an untimely filed amendment. The substance of both amendments are exactly the same, and I'll tell you exactly what they are. The one difference is the amendment that's timely filed expands what Representative Capley wants to do. His bill was on initial endorsement, new teachers getting an endorsement. The timely filed amendment inadvertently has all teachers seeking an endorsement or a renewal. So I expanded accidentally the scope of his bill. The untimely filed amendment goes back and matches his intent that just new endorsements, teachers getting new endorsements. So I can put the untimely filed amendment on in full because I'm telling you I want to do it right now, or I can put it on now and I can explain what the amendment does very quickly to you. And then if you choose to take the untimely filed amendment, it meets what Representative Capley's intent was at the beginning. That's okay.
So we don't accept untimely filed amendments in this committee. So I would.
So I'll put it on in full then.
Okay.
And
Do
we'll
you
explain
have?
to you?
Yes. Go ahead and explain that amendment, if you would, please, and then we'll open up for questions for any members if they have any questions.
Sure. On the untimely filed amendment, all it does is it limits the scope of the bill to those teachers that are seeking an endorsement to teach social studies, history, or civics. The bill as it's written right now requires everybody to do it. Math teachers, science teachers, shop teachers, tech teachers all have to do it. I agree with the representative that if you're going to teach our students I'm sorry, if you're going to teach our students social studies, history, or civics, you should be able to pass a civics test. I 100% agree. The problem is we are seeking right now across the state science teachers and math teachers and shop teachers, and I don't want to create a burden for them to get into the classroom who don't teach on civics at all. So that's what the untimely file amendment does, and what it does is also match up with the representative's intent of just those seeking new endorsements. That's all. So I'll be happy to file that in full committee. It's not a problem.
We don't need it though, right? Correct. We don't need the
But no.
So,
What it is, I filed it
so I
wrong.
was checking with legal to make sure that we have so that we're in the proper posture to discuss the bill today. And according to legal, what we would need to do is to go ahead and adopt the timely filed amendment. We've heard from the sponsor an explanation of the untimely amendment, which he has committed to bring to us in full education if this bill passes today onto full education. So at this time, we have before us amendment, and this is an amendment by Chairman Sapicki, 13321.
Motion on the amendment, second.
In a second. And so any questions on the amendment that we are adopting? Chairman White?
So if we add this amendment, and then we get to full committee, we'll have a new amendment which will override this amendment? Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And
yes.
it won't rewrite the bill. I'll have legal just draft an amendment, changing it from seeking a license to seeking an initial license. That's all. That's the only change will be in full.
Okay. Any members have a question about the amendment that we're adopting or the posture that it will put us in? Any questions of that nature? Okay. All those in favor of adopting Amendment 13321, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And so the amendment it has been adopted and is now on your bill. And now we're ready, sponsor, for you to explain your bill.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, committee, for that. House Bill 1658 enacts the Tennessee Civics Education Act, which would require the Department of Education to develop a United States civics test for individuals seeking the initial issuance of an applicable teacher's license. And as you just heard, committee, with the amendments, obviously, we have a little bit of cleanup work to do, and we will get that done. So I
All
stand
right.
for questions.
Any questions for our sponsor? All right. Representative Glenn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Currently, what do teachers do now if they're teaching any of these civics courses? Like what requirements are required besides just a degree?
Representative Capley, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not aware if there's any in code. If do we need to go to legal for that? I don't know if that's what you're asking, or I don't think there's any.
So
Yeah, and I may be able to help you out
Yeah.
with that. There is a subject matter praxis test that is required by the State Board of Education that a civics teacher would need to pass. That is part of their endorsement, part of that process. If it's an initial license, part of their initial license. If it's an endorsement for civics, they would take the praxis test.
okay, so now you want to add an additional test to those who teach these specific courses.
You recognize?
Yes, sir.
You recognize, Representative Glenn?
And why is it all of a sudden necessary for this additional course to be taught, or this additional test to be taken in order for them to teach this course?
Representative Kaplan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we're just sending a strong message that we think civics education is important, and that if you're going to teach civics, that you obviously need to have a knowledge of government, its infrastructure, its history, the founding principles of our nation. That we've already got one right now that's given to high school seniors, and they have to pass it to graduate. So if they can do that, then their teachers should be too.
Representative Glenn, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Here's my problem here. Teachers already take a whatever that was said about to teach civics. Now we want to add something else to them in order to teach civics. This, in my opinion, will cause teachers to not want to teach civics. So now we'll end up with with schools who do not even have teachers to teach social studies, history, and whatever the other course was, because we're adding again more burden to them, only them, to teach something that hadn't been required before, but now all of a sudden we are. And it's not really and truly about, they don't know what they're talking about. It's not really truly about all of a sudden society has changed and we need to relearn civics. If that's the case, we need to relearn all educational tools, but that's not true. And so this bill has nothing to really and truly do with wanting teachers to be more educated in civics. I think that's already being done. I think really and truly there's more to this, and that's why I just cannot support this legislation.
Response, sponsor?
Appreciate your comments.
Okay, any other questions for our sponsor? Chairman White, you're recognized.
Sorry, Chairman, things keep popping in my mind. So, and I agree, like Chairman Sapicki, I agree that this is good, but when we put another test onto them, is there a financial burden upon the test taker? You know, we have the practice, they pay for that cost there. Do we know anything about that at this point as far as how that works?
Sponsor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is a fiscal impact. I'm not really, I can get you the specifics on how much that would cost to, I mean, as far as getting the test online and all that. I wouldn't imagine it would be too burdensome on the teacher. I wouldn't imagine that. That's not the intent, certainly.
Chairman Sapicki, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the fiscal note talks about state government expenditures. So the Department of Education will incur a cost to create the tests and make sure the test is disseminated to those individuals that are going to get an endorsement, be able to teach. So I think it's $105,000 initially, and then $60,000 every 4 years thereafter.
Chairman White, you follow up?
But I think it was just explained to me, that fiscal note is if on the current thing where if everybody took it and if your amendment would bring it way down.
Should be cheaper.
Okay.
Should be cheaper.
Okay, members, any other questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1658. Mr. Clerk, if you please open the vote. Open the board. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes and 1 no.
House Bill 1658 moves on to full education.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, committee.
All right, that brings us to item number 11, House Bill 2076 by Representative Reeves. Oh, sorry, didn't have that. There we go. I was looking at Representative Mayberry, and so that brings us to item number 12, House Bill 1895 by Representative Mayberry. Do I have a motion? Properly motioned, properly seconded, and I am not. Yes.
Representative, there is a difference between Representative Reeves and Mayberry. Representative Mayberry has a beard.
There you go. I'm not sure that was a point of order, but I won't call you out of order for that. All right. So I'm not seeing an amendment on this bill. So Representative Mayberry, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairman Sapicki, for clarifying that. This is brought to me from a constituent in Montgomery County. He's actually a teacher in our school district as well. One day his child in his classroom, it was evacuated. There was an incident in the classroom where one child had a special day and then the rest of the kids had to get evacuated, and he did not find out about it until he got home and the child talked to him about it. And he thought, well, this needs to change. We need to be able to make sure that we tell our parents before the end of the day that something happens for the children. So I'm standing ready for questions.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. Any questions from our members? Seeing none, we are ready to vote on House Bill 1895. Mr. Clerk, if you'd open the board for voting. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
House Bill 1895 moves out to full education.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
That brings us now to item number 13, House Bill 2305 by Representative Stevens. Do I have a motion? Properly motioned, properly seconded, and not seeing an amendment. No amendment. So Representative Stevens, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill clarifies that an individual who has completed all required educator preparation program coursework except the clinical practice may receive a temporary clinical permit if the individual has begun but not completed the required clinical practice. And basically, in simple terms, this would let the teacher candidate become the teacher of record in the middle of the semester instead of starting at the beginning of the year.
And members, this is already taking place by waiver. I'm not sure if the sponsor was aware of that, but this already takes place by waiver. Good legislation. I think it'll get teachers into classrooms much quicker. But members, do we have any questions for the sponsor? All right, I see none. And so, Mr. Clerk, if you would open the board for voting. Members, please cast your vote. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
House Bill 2305 moves on to full education. That brings us to item number 14, House Bill 2343 by Representative Harris. I don't see. Oh, there we go. I do see. There we go. Motion. Do I have a second? Second. Motion and second. You are recognized on your bill. Do we have an amendment? No amendment. So.
Thank you, Chair. And House Bill 2343 is a bill for our teachers. Currently, the language says that under policies adopted by the local Board of Education, a teacher must be allowed personal and professional leave earned at the rate of 1 day for each 1/2 year that they're employed. And this legislation would move that from 1 day to 2 days that for each 1/2 year that they're employed. So for a total of 4 days. The state law controls the personal and professional days, and the locals get an opportunity to control the sick day time that they have allotted to their teachers. What has been stated is that oftentimes a teacher, because they only get a certain amount of days, those 2 days, that they will fib, for better words, on and say that they are sick on a Friday so they can be able to take off one of their sick days and then on Monday use that as a personal day. Rather than if this legislation was in place, they would have enough personal days that they would be able to be more honest about the time they need to be off. It'll allow the locals to be able to, if they would like, shorten the amount of sick days that they currently get. So if they currently get 10 days, they could knock it down to 8 days, but they would get that additional personal day, so they don't have to be required to turn in a doctor's note for that. So,
thank you, Representative Harris. Any questions for our sponsor, Chairman White?
Thank you. I guess my question is, I see what you're doing, and but I remember last year we had legislation, or not legislation, we had a lot of comments where the school district was saying our teachers are out so much because they're able to put it together, and then we've got somebody out for 4 weeks. Yep. So make sure I understand exactly what we're doing on this. A professional day, they only get one now?
You're recognized.
yes, for personal and or professional day, they currently only get one for every half of the year that they are employed.
So 2, so we would be doubling this to 4.
And then that allows the locals to adjust their sick time if they would like to, because they can't adjust their personal because that's ran by the law. They can only adjust their sick time right now, and they will be able to adjust their sick time to align to keep them the same amount of days. Instead of it just being a sick day, it would just be a personal day so that they can use it for more than just being sick.
But
you're recognized.
So basically a district could say, hey, there's too many, we can bring the sick days down and we're still not giving any more days. If
Correct. Instead, they would just be a personal day.
All right. Any follow-up? All right. Representative Hurt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sponsor, looking at the fiscal note here, I'm seeing that it's going to turn to the LEAs to cover the cost of, it's going to be a cost to them to cover for the substitutes.
You're recognized.
Yes, so based off of the fiscal note that's here before us, they're looking at it not from the utilization of what a teachers use. It's just going to be a kind of accumulation number. But what it would do is if the school said, oh, okay, currently we give them 10 days for sick days, and they said they don't want to, and the schools decide they're not going to change that, then yes, it would require additional. But if the schools say, yeah, I'm going to change that sick day policy from 10 days to 8 days, then it would just offset it.
Follow up? Anyone else? Any questions? I think you good, Chair, Representative Reedy? You good?
That's all good.
Okay, very good. So I think just to put it simply, there doesn't have to be any net gain when it comes to total days. The districts can decide what they do with it, correct? All right. All right, I think we are ready to vote. Mr. Clerk, if you would open the board on House Bill 2343. Members, please cast your votes. All right, Mr. Clerk, if you'll take the vote.
Mr. Chairman, you have 6 ayes, no nays.
House Bill 2343 moves out to full education.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you all.
All right, that brings us to our last bill of the day. Chairman White, that is House Bill 1974. Motioned and seconded, and you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Committee. House Bill 1974, I put on notice last week. I was ready to go. And then after the amendment filing deadline, I got an amendment from the Department of Education. So I'd like to request to roll this to the next available calendar.
All right, without objection, we will roll House Bill 1974 to the next available calendar. All right, there are no other items on the calendar. Any other business for the committee? Seeing none, we are adjourned.